17th, 1944. December 17th, 1944. 5:42 a.m. A narrow forest road near La Glaise, buried under fresh snow. The sky still pitch black, the air sharp enough to sting the inside of your nose. And then the ground begins to tremble. A deep metallic growl rolls through the trees, Panther tanks, engines purring like predators waiting to pounce. Frost shakes loose from pine branches as the column crawls forward, their silhouettes glowing beneath the dim red convoy lamps. Exhaust fumes hang heavy in the frozen air, mixing with the steady crunch of tracks grinding over ice. Inside the lead Panther, Lieutenant Karl Bremer smirks as he rests his elbow against the turret ring. "Bazooka," he mutters, as if the word itself is a joke. His loader, Gefreiter Otto Rink, chuckles. "A toy rocket. Good for farmers, not for us." They had heard stories American infantry skulking in the trees with little metal tubes on their shoulders, hoping for a lucky shot. But against a 45-ton Panther AUFG, with sloped armor thick enough to shrug off most shells, the crew considered it laughable. Bremer leans forward, tapping the glacier's plate with his knuckle. They'd need a miracle to scratch this. The men laugh again, their breath turning white inside the freezing turret. Outside, the column under Joachim Peiper pushes deeper into the Ardennes, a spearhead meant to break through American lines with speed and terror. Panthers at the front, half tracks behind, SS Grenadiers marching silently along the ditch. Their confidence is absolute, their arrogance unshakable. Meanwhile, just a mile ahead, tucked behind shattered stone walls and snow-drenched hedgerows, a small group of American infantry from the 117th Regiment, 30th Infantry Division, crouches in silence. Their boots soak in slush, their knuckles are stiff, their nerves high-strung. Between them rests something Bremer's crew would have laughed at even more, a long, black, almost flimsy-looking tube, the updated M9 Bazooka. It glistens faintly with condensation. Its battery pack blinks weakly in the cold. And next to it, Private First Class Daniel Harlow rubs his trembling hands together, trying to coax warmth back into his fingertips. He's only used the new M9 once on a rusted tractor. Never on a tank. Never on a Panther. Never with lives hanging in the balance. The distant engine rumble grows louder, vibrating in his chest like a buried drumbeat. He glances at his assistant gunner, Corporal Lewis Grant, who whispers, 3, maybe 4 Panthers. Lead one's gonna turn right into us. Harlow swallows hard. The bazooka feels too light, too simple, too fragile. What if it doesn't punch through? He murmurs. Grant doesn't answer. Because right then, the first Panther appears, an enormous shadow sliding between the trees. Headlights dimmed, bow machine gun shifting like a searchlight, probing through the snowfall. Steam coils from the exhaust ports. Snow cascades off the turret each time it jolts forward. The tank is close now. Too close. Inside the turret, Bremer scans through the periscope, unconcerned, humming a tune from home. They've crushed American roadblocks all morning, artillery crews, truck convoys, rifle squads. The enemy always breaks, always runs. Not once did a bazooka team slow them down. A crackle comes through Bremer's headset. Piper's voice. Maintain speed. No delays. The Panther grinds forward. 10 yards. 8, 6. Harlow lifts the M9 to his shoulder. The cold metal bites into his cheek. He draws a breath that burns his lungs. Grant whispers, "Now or never, Danny." Harlow's finger tightens. And suddenly, the Panther halts. Bremer freezes. He doesn't know why the driver stopped. He only knows the forest has gone too quiet. A silence thick enough to feel. He leans forward, peering into the darkness. Something moves. A faint silhouette, a flicker of motion behind a broken wall. Too small to be a tank. Too tall to be a fox. Too deliberate to be a trick of the snow. Bremer's smirk fades. What, was that? The answer comes in a flash of white-hot light. Boom! A streak of fire cuts through the dark, ripping toward the Panther's nose. Bremer has 1 second to realize the truth. This isn't the old bazooka. This is something else, something deadlier. The rocket slams into the armor with a shrill metallic shriek, and the world inside the turret goes white. The blast hits like a sledgehammer made of fire. Inside the Panther's turret, the concussion punches the air out of Bremer's lungs. Dust and metal flakes burst from the inner walls as the tank rocks violently to one side. Otto Rink's helmet cracks against the loader's hatch. Someone screams, but in the chaos, even Bremer can't tell who. A sharp, bitter scent fills the air. Not fuel, not burning oil. Something new, something terrifying. A breach. Bremer jolts upright, heartbeat hammering in his ears. "Report! Report!" he shouts. But Rink is already clawing at his face. His cheeks split open by shrapnel from the interior spall. Blood streaks across the shell racks. The gunner, Ernst Faber, tries to steady the cannon sight. Hands trembling, breath ragged. "Hit! We're hit! Front armor! How?" That question hangs in the air like a ghost. The Panther's glacis wasn't supposed to be penetrated by anything an American infantryman could carry. Not a rifle grenade, not a hand mine, and definitely not a bazooka. Bremer's confidence evaporates. His mind races. Why did they fire at us? What kind of rocket? And then he hears it again. A faint hiss, then a roar. Outside the tank, the forest erupts. Another flash streaks from the rubble where Harlow's team hides, lighting the snow like a silent lightning bolt. Inside the tank, Faber's instincts take over. "Move! Driver! Back! Back!" The second rocket slams into the left side of the mantlet. The turret buckles. Faber is thrown sideways, his headset torn off in a spray of sparks. Bremer stares at the warped steel in disbelief. His mouth hangs open. Impossible. But there's no time for denial now. The driver panics. The Panther lurches backward, tracks grinding against the ice stone of the narrow road. The heavy tank fishtails, kicking up clouds of powdered snow. Bremer tries to regain control. "Franz, keep it straight, straight!" But the Panther jerks again as something beneath the track snaps. The crew doesn't know it yet. Oh, but Grant had set a hidden Hawkins mine under the snow hours earlier. Not enough to destroy the tank. Just enough to throw it off balance. Just enough to make it vulnerable. Back behind the stone wall, Harlow feels the shockwave rattle through his bones. The second rocket tube drops from his hand as he gasps sharp white clouds into the freezing air. His shoulders tremble, not from fear, but from the sheer violence of the blast. Grant reloads the fresh tube, voice shaking. "That's it, Danny! That's it! You cracked it! The mantlet's open!" But Harlow doesn't celebrate. Not yet. Because there's movement, more tanks, shadows. The rest of Piper's column grinding forward through the trees. 3 more Panthers. A lumbering Tiger II, deeper behind them. Half tracks, fanning out along the roadside. And all of them have just watched their lead tank stagger under the punch of a weapon they thought was a joke. Grant tightens his grip on the next rocket. "You hit the front. They won't risk that again." Harlow steadies his breathing. His fingers still ache from the cold. But something hotter now burns in his chest. Resolve. Inside the battered Panther, Bremer wipes the blood from his brow. The shell racks rattle violently as the tank tries to pull itself back into formation. "Radio Piper," he orders. Tell him, but words fail him. "Tell him what? That a toy rocket has just crippled a Panther? That American infantry have a weapon strong enough to punch through their pride?" Before he can speak, Rink slams his fist against the hull. "Something's burning. Backplate." Bremer turns. Smoke. Thin gray creeping through the engine compartment grill. His heart drops. If the Americans fire again, if they hit the rear, if flames touch the ammo racks. Bremer makes the decision he never thought he'd say out loud. "Bail out! Bail out! Now!" The men scramble. Hatches slam open. Snow and freezing wind burst into the turret. Bremer climbs out first, slipping on the icy metal as he tumbles to the ground. Rink follows, clutching his cheek. Faber crawls out last, half blinded, slipping into the ditch. Behind them, the Panther groans, a wounded beast too proud to fall, but too broken to survive. And Harlow watches all of it from behind the wall, chest heaving, breath fogging the air. He just did what German armored crews said was impossible. But the night isn't over. Not by a long shot. Because the next tank in the column is already turning its turret toward their position, and its engine revs like a beast that refuses to die easy. The second Panther halts, then pivots hard, its turret rotating with a low hydraulic whine that cuts straight through the icy air. Harlow feels that sound in his spine. Grant clamps a hand on his shoulder. "Danny, that one saw the launch." The tank's main gun swings toward their broken wall. The shadows of the pine trees dance across its hull as the engine growls, exhaust roaring into the cold morning. Inside, the German gunner centers his sight. A tiny flicker of movement behind the rubble, just enough to confirm a target. "Ziel fast," he says. "Target acquired." Harlow ducks as the entire world around him seems to tighten. The bazooka tube feels heavier than before, as if the air itself is resisting. His breath comes in short, fast bursts. The snow at his knees melts from the heat of his trembling palms. Grant's whisper is barely audible. "We move or we die." The Panther's muzzle flashes. Boom! The wall explodes, stone shrapnel blasting across the hedgerow in a shower of white dust and burning fumes. The shockwave throws Harlow onto his back. His ears ring violently. For a moment, sound becomes a distant underwater hum. He tastes grit, feels the sting of debris on his face. He cannot hear himself breathing. Grant grabs his jacket, yanking him upright. Danny, are you good? Harlow blinks, vision swimming, shapes blur. The tank looms through the smoke like a metal giant rising from hell. He nods, barely. It's all he can manage. Together they crawl through the rubble, dragging the M9 along the snow-packed ground. Every second, the Panther inches forward, confident, methodical, certain it has them pinned. But Harlow notices something. A narrow ditch running parallel to the road. Deep enough to crawl, dark enough to vanish. He taps Grant's arm and points. They drop into the ditch, and just as the Panther fires again a blast that scorches the air above their heads and pulverizes the remaining stones. Chunks of wall rain down behind them as they disappear beneath the snow-covered grass. Inside the Panther, WWII, its commander, studies the destruction through his periscope. No survivors, he mutters. He's sure of it. He motions the driver forward. Advance, crush the nest. The tank rolls ahead, treads snapping frozen branches. Grinding stone beneath steel. The gunner reloads confidently, expecting no further resistance. But the Americans haven't fled blindly. They're moving with purpose. Crawling through the ditch, Harlow feels the cold mud soaking into his sleeves. His helmet scrapes against frozen roots. Every movement is slow, calculated, desperate. Grant whispers, "If we flank left, we hit the side skirt." Harlow shakes his head. The Panther is angled wrong. The armor too thick from that side. But then he sees Ida dip in the terrain, a curve in the ditch, leading directly behind the tank. The Panther's rear plating its Achilles heel. He taps Grant's boot twice. Signals the plan. Grant's eyes widen. "Danny, that's 30 yards, man." Harlow loads a fresh rocket anyway. 30 yards, he repeats, breathing hard. "Or they roll right over everyone behind us," because behind this small bazooka team lies an entire platoon. Men digging in. Men unprepared for armor. Men who will die if this tank gets through. He crawls. 10 yards. 15. The ground shakes. The tank is moving parallel to the ditch, turning gently as if searching for movement. Its exhaust spews white, choking smoke into the tree line. 20 yards. 25. Grant keeps low, gripping the firing battery like a lifeline. The tank halts suddenly. His turret begins rotating again, back toward their position, as if it senses them. Harlow freezes. The turret slows, stops. The cannon barrel settles just feet above the ditch. Grant whispers, "If it fires, we're done." Harlow doesn't blink. For a long, cold moment, neither man moves. Then the tank shifts again slightly, just enough for Harlow to see the glowing grill of the engine compartment. The perfect shot. He rises from the ditch in one swift, risky motion, now spraying from his boots and shoulders the bazooka. Time slows. The Panther's commander sees the silhouette. "Farewell!" he screams. The cannon begins to recoil, but Harlow is faster. He squeezes the trigger. Boom! The rocket streaks across the icy air, a burning comet, flying straight toward the one place a Panther cannot defend. It hits dead center. A roar erupts behind the tank's armor, a violent cough of flame followed by a rising column of black smoke. Grant flinches. Harlow doesn't. Oh, he watches as the Panther's engine compartment bursts into a firestorm, the rear hatch blowing open from internal pressure. Flames lick the sides. The treads lock up. But something is wrong. The tank doesn't die. Not yet. The turret begins to turn toward them again. Slow, agonizing, mechanical defiance. Grant whispers, "No way. It's still alive?" Harlow lowers the empty tube, breath fogging the air. The wounded Panther is not finished, but neither is he. He reaches for another rocket, the last one, and far down the road, deeper in the trees, the Tiger II finally appears. Its shadow alone swallows the snow.